Hi, how are you?
We said we were going to start at 6:35, so we can start.
Okay.
My name is Mo Kinberg. I'm with New Jersey Future and the Sewage Free Streets and Rivers campaign. And we've been working with the Paterson Green Team on the Adopt a Catch Basin program. So I just was going to quickly go over the agenda, and then we're going to do introductions. So I'm just going to share my screen so we can look at the agenda really quick. If I can figure out how to do this. So we're going to do introductions, and then we're going to talk about the combined sewer overflow situation. We have a presentation on green infrastructure in Paterson, and then we're going to talk about Paterson's Adopt a Catch Basin program. We're going to look at some maps of where all the catch basins are, and then we're going to have a Q&A. So why don't we start by, we were first going to have the folks on the call who have been organizing this meeting introduce themselves and who are presenting. So I'm just going to start with Martha to kick it off.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Martha Lencivia. I'm on the Paterson Green Team, and I'm a resident of the city of Paterson.
Thank you. And how about Liz?
Hi, everybody. My name is Liz Pishnick, and I work for the Rutgers Water Resources Program. And I've been working in Paterson for a few years now on stormwater issues and sustainable ways to manage stormwater in Paterson. So.
Sorry. And Ms. Harrison?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Frances Harrison. Martha and I are the Green Team for Paterson, and we've been working very diligently and hard with the rest of these people online since 2018. And I'm glad to see that the Adopt Catch Basin have the rest of you guys online so we can move forward.
And okay, so Sheila?
Yes, I'm Sheila Baker Gujral, and I'm with the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions.
And Adam Palmer?
Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Palmer. I'm the Education Associate at Great Swamp Watershed Association. And we are one of the Passaic River Waterkeeper Alliance affiliates. And we work in providing education programs to public schools in Paterson, as well as partnering up with Rutgers to install some of the green infrastructure and rain gardens at those schools.
And Councilwoman Ruby Cotton. Well, we'll give her a second. How about Docil?
Hi everyone, I'm Dassel Tilos. I'm the Senior Community Relations Specialist for Mayor Saya's office, and we'll be supporting this program through his office.
Great, and so now I'm just gonna have the rest of you introduce yourselves. I'll call on you since it's weird with the Zoom. So Lynn Applebaum?
Yep, that's me. I'm Director of Institutional Relations for the Great Swamp Watershed Association. I just joined the team 2 weeks ago, and thank you for having me this evening.
And Hazel?
Hi, everyone. I'm Hazel England. I'm the Director of Outreach and Education for the Great Swamp Watershed Association. Adam and I work together on the installation of the rain gardens and the education around it over the last 4 years in Paterson.
And Francisca Diaz.
They'll meet me. Good afternoon. I just joined a couple of weeks ago too. I'm a community activist in the city of Paterson, currently studying to be a domestic violence grief counselor. So I'm glad to join in the Zoom. Martha invited me.
Awesome. And Shaniqua Lemon.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Shaniqua, a resident here in Paterson. A friend and I, through community cleanups, we met Martha and partnered with the Green Team. So just trying to learn more about educational initiatives to bring to our city and how we can help.
Awesome. And is it Linda Smith? We'll come back. Winifred Harrison?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Miss Winifred Harrison. Everybody call me Miss Winnie. Um, I was introduced to Martha when our mayor was running, and in the process of doing events, I have seen her, and Miss Harrison, Miss Frances Harrison, asked me to get involved, and I'm here. I'm gonna do the best that I can. I do have a couple of questions, though. We'll get to that later.
Oh, good. Okay.
And everybody call me Miss Winnie.
Denise Womack?
Hi, my name is Denise Womack. I'm a Paterson resident, also a commissioner on the Paterson Arts Exchange. Ms. Frances Harrison introduced me to the Water Basin program, and I am very environmentally concerned, and so I want to hear what you had to say tonight.
Awesome. And Michael, not sure how to say your last name.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Lytle. I'm a community activist in Paterson. There's a lot of groups that I'm involved with, but I really do love being with the Green Team. Thanks to Martha and for the late Ed Cotton for getting me involved in the Green Team. And I'm just, if you don't see my face, it's because I'm driving. So, but I'm here. And happy birthday, Winnie.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see. I see Fonarin, but I'm not sure if that's the first name or last name.
That's actually my last name. How you guys doing? I'm also a Paterson resident. Got invited from Martha. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. And Sandra Santiago?
Hi, I'm Sandra Santiago, and I'm a resident of Paterson. I was invited by Martha.
And Adriana Meja?
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm actually a resident of Paterson for over 20 years now. So I was raised here, and I definitely want to, listen to see what you guys have to say, because I'm very concerned with what's going on in the city. So thank you so much for having me. Martha invited me over.
Thank you. And Nancy Greer?
Everybody know Miss Nancy. Today her birthday.
It's her birthday too, yes.
Yeah, today her birthday.
Happy birthday, Nancy Greer.
And I think Councilwoman Cotton is maybe going to switch devices, so she may be getting on shortly with her laptop. So,
and then Linda Smith.
Oh, Linda Smith, sorry.
I don't think we got the audio for that, did we?
Linda's on mute.
She's not muted though. Sometimes that's a thing. Oh, now she is. Hey, Linda. All right, well, we'll get started. Okay, and the first presentation is going to be by Liz. So I'm going to switch screens to go to that presentation and try to do. You guys see this Paterson CSO long-term control plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, thanks everybody for coming, and it's exciting to see new people, to me at least, new to me. And yeah, so I'm just gonna give sort of a brief overview of where the city is at officially with their long-term control plan, which is the plan for the combined sewer system to be sort of remediated by the year 2050. So yeah, next slide. So just real quick to check in again, CSOs are combined sewers, or sorry, a CSO is a combined sewer overflow, and it happens in combined sewer systems. So in this picture, you can see there's on the left, there is a dry weather scenario, and you can see that sewage and you can see sewage going into the sewer drain, and then it sort of goes down towards the left where it would go to a treatment plant. And it doesn't overflow. And then if you have a heavy rain event, like on the right, the storm drain also goes to the same pipes and mixes with the sewage, and then it can overflow into the nearby waterways, and it's untreated. So this is why the EPA mandated that it be fixed throughout all cities in America. So this is a map of the active CSOs in Paterson. There are 23 right now, and they're all below the Great Falls and above the Dundee Dam, just for some orientation. And they all also have different overflow volumes per year too. So some of them release more per year and some less, just based on the drainage area that goes out of each of those pipes. So yeah, next slide. And so following, these are some of the proposed CSO alternative technologies. And these are from the engineering consultant that Paterson hired to come up with this plan. So that's PS&S, they're an engineering firm, and they attended meetings with Paterson Smart to try to get input from residents on these things, but largely they're just engineering solutions. So, okay, so there are several options. And so a main technique that's going to be used is sewer separation. So that is constructing new sewers, so new stormwater sewers, to separate them from sanitary sewers. And so you have to dig up the pipes and install new sewers, and yeah, that's so that's it. And there will also be a relief sewer installed. So the relief sewer is basically just an extra length of pipe. So it'll be underground, basically storage, but it's not a storage tank, but it's space, so that the system can handle more volume before it overflows. They have proposed to use green infrastructure to manage 2.5% of the impervious cover in Paterson. So that means 2.5% of things like streets, roofs, yeah, basically streets, roofs, sidewalks, anything that rainwater can't actually infiltrate into. And then they also have, they're calling it in this presentation, gray water alternative options. So it's not green infrastructure, it's gray, so involving concrete basically. So they have proposed underground storage tanks and a deep tunnel at one overflow point in particular. And they also have some disinfection options as well that they're gonna use at the end of the pipes. And what that will do is it wouldn't reduce the volume, but it would disinfect it so that the overflow isn't as toxic to the surrounding waterways. Okay, so we can, next slide. So this is just some of the areas where they're doing sewer separation, or they already have done sewer separation. The green area basically is what they have left to do. And you can see it's sort of up at the north side of Paterson. We can go to the next slide. This is that specific area. This is sort of this is probably their project area page for their designs. And then, so this is a relief sewer. So this is the relief sewer that they proposed, and it's between existing storm sewers. And it seems that they chose it due to areas of severe street flooding and basement flooding. That's sort of those red bubbles around the streets there. That's where they identified a lot of that happening. Yeah. And this next slide again is just sort of another map for where they're going to put the relief sewer. And this is the elevation profile in case you're interested in that. So it's sort of showing like how deep I think it will go. And so green infrastructure, that's how I've been involved in Paterson. It's a different way of managing stormwater besides using gray infrastructure. So green infrastructure are things like rain gardens or bioswales or stormwater tree pits. And typically green infrastructure will help to create habitat for pollinators, and it also can provide shade and cooling by, if you're using trees, it can help to promote better air quality. So not only does green infrastructure help to manage stormwater, but it also can have other benefits as well. So the 2.5% is what is currently proposed in the plan. And yeah, these are some of the different types. So like green roofs, porous pavement too, which is pavement that is larger and has more void space so water can get down into the ground. And I know most people on this call know about this stuff already, but just want to give an introduction to everything. So it looks like they are going to do 50 acres within the rights of way within the city. So they're going to manage 50 acres. I think the total for green infrastructure being managed by acreage is like 220 acres or something like that. So then, and then they have different property tiers. So they listed that down there. And so they didn't include private property in there, which is something, interesting to think about as residents of Paterson that, can help manage and impact private property. There are opportunities to manage more impervious cover with green infrastructure there. Food for thought. Next slide. And so PVSC which is the Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission. And that's where all of the wastewater from Paterson goes to. And they get all the wastewater from, I think it's, from like 40 communities in, the sort of northeast New Jersey area. And so they're doing a pilot study of green infrastructure to see how well it manages stormwater in Paterson. So that'll be interesting to look out for the results of that whenever those come. But PS&S does say that, there will need to be gray water or gray infrastructure used to manage stormwater because of the large volumes that are required to be held to reduce them by the amount needed. So I'll just go over a couple of those gray infrastructure options being proposed. So next slide. Yeah, so there's the subgrade storage tanks. And those are exactly what they sound like. And it's just an underwater storage tank. And they're more like lengthwise than they are deep in general, I think. And then they have this other thing proposed called a deep tunnel, and that is mainly proposed, I believe, at Outfall 25. And that's to hold a much larger volume of stormwater. And then they also have proposed some places, some outfalls will be treated for bacterial disinfection before it overflows into the river. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so here you can see, well, an example of this kind of tunnel, I guess. It's, I'm not sure where that's from, but an example of how big it might be. And yeah, so 15 feet in diameter. And yeah, so that would be at CSO 25, and it would hold 2.1 million gallons of storage. Next slide. And this is where it would be at. Next slide. And so everything that I just talked about is part of the Paterson specific long-term control plan, but PVSC also has come up with a plan for a regional alternative, which will be sort of more comprehensive when looking at their sewer system over the region and not just Paterson. But it doesn't really propose green infrastructure, but it does have a lower budget than the Paterson. For Paterson, it would cost less, but there's not green infrastructure involved in that proposal from PVSC because they look at it as more of the municipalities have to decide if they want to install green infrastructure. And so that's still being decided if Paterson or if the region is going to implement this regional alternative, because all of the CSO communities in PVSC's service area, if they all agree to it, then they'll do it. But even if one community decides that they don't want to do it, then it will not be implemented. So that'll be determined in 6 months, I believe. Within 6 months, I think. I'm not sure, Mo, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And so this is the rough outline for all of the projects involved in completing the long-term control plan. And then it also has an estimate for the capital cost for completing that. So they do have green infrastructure staggered nicely throughout this construction process. And so it says project to be implemented and operational by the end of the year. So these are sort of like deadlines for when these projects will be completed, not necessarily when they'll be started, but this is something that I think is useful to know too. And we'll definitely share this PowerPoint. We'll probably send out a longer one. There's some more detailed information that was shared by PSNS, because this presentation is from PSNS. And so we're going to share it with everybody who's on the call tonight so that you can have this information and look back at it whenever you need to. So yeah, so this is sort of tied in with the whole adopt a catch basin thing, because when the catch basins are working well, you have less flooding and the sewer systems can work as they are supposed to. And you also have less garbage, which can clog up the sewer system and prevent flow too. So yeah, it's all connected.
Thank you, Liz. I did want to say that if folks have questions, you can put them in the chat if they come up like while people are talking. And I did want to just give a moment because there was a lot of information to see if anyone had any questions before we move on to the next presentation.
I have a question. Where's the holding tank going to be located in Paterson? Did they give that in the notes?
I don't think that is in the notes, but I do think it's in the plan. Because they have something like the note underneath of the storage tank said like regional groups. So I think that they'll place the tanks where there's a few outfalls. So they have them sort of like grouped. I think that's what they're planning on doing. And also for more information on the long-term control plan, there's going to be a workshop that New Jersey Future is coordinating on December 3rd and 4th. And the outcome of the workshop is going to be comments from community members on the long-term control plan. Those comments are going to go to the DEP and PSNS is going to see them and everything. So it would be really useful to attend that to like really dive into the long-term control plan details.
Yeah, I registered for that already.
Of course.
I'm trying to put in a chat question, but it's not going in for some reason. But anyway, my question is, Liz, if you could just tell us what are the municipalities that are in the Passaic Valley system?
Well, I can send you an email to their page because they have like a map and they have it all like, so they have something like 40 different municipalities.
There's that many. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's like 7 of them that are CSO communities.
Right.
And
that's fine. I'll look for that.
I'll send that to you for sure.
And I should add, we have a lot of this information on the Sewage Free Streets and Rivers website as well. So I will put that in the chat because there is a map of the CSO communities, at least right on the front page there. But now let's move on to Adam. And Adam, did you want to share your own screen or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can share it. Just give me
okay.
1 second here. Let's see. Oops, I don't know what I did there. Can you guys see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you guys again for taking time out of your evening to come and listen to our presentation. And I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Liz said on the green infrastructure and focus particularly on not only the benefits that green infrastructure can give us as a stormwater management solution, but also the other benefits that it has in regards especially to education and habitat creation in more fragmented areas. So for those of you that are just joining, again, my name is Adam Palmer. I'm Education Associate with Great Swamp Watershed Association. If I can go to the next slide here. So just real brief background on the Great Swamp Watershed Association. We are the Waterkeeper Alliance affiliate for the Passaic River. So we're really dedicated to protecting and improving the water resources. And we do that through education, advocacy, water quality monitoring, land preservation and stewardship. And we work with all of our partners to be able to instill those values and awareness to people. And Liz kind of briefly touched on what green infrastructure was, but it again is green solutions to stormwater issues and stormwater runoff issues. So we're looking to absorb water before it goes into that combined sewage system and kind of relieve some of the pressure and the inundation that those systems are facing that then contributes to the overflow and ultimately the release of untreated water and pollutants into our water resource. Specifically here, the Passaic River. So they absorb and they disconnect. And that again is in comparison to things that are gray solutions, like storage tanks and the sewer separations. And that's not a good versus evil dichotomy. We're going to have to use a combination of both of those things. So not one is better than the other, but they both have their own advantages. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the extra benefits that green solutions will be able to provide us on top of the stormwater management. So briefly, we got involved with this initiative, particularly through our advocacy with Paterson Smart, helping to support the really incredible Adopt a Catch Basin program that they have. Obviously, as the water quality monitors for Passaic River, we are very concerned with CSO issues, as that's a source of pollution to the larger resource that we're concerned with. But we also do a lot of education programming in Paterson schools, working on educating the youth about water quality and their own water issues that they might face in their daily lives. So briefly, the green infrastructure that we're going to focus on, I'm going to focus on is what we call a rain garden. You might be familiar with them, you might not, but it is a type of green infrastructure that you can easily install if you have the right equipment and knowledge, but its general purpose is to collect the rainwater and stormwater that is running off of surfaces that are usually not permeable. So things like roads and rooftops, where that water is just going to run off and pick up any pollutants along the way before going into that stormwater system where it's going to contribute to the CSO problem. So it collects that water. The plants that are in that garden then take up the water and absorb it. It can also help to filter some of the pollutants and runoff chemicals that it might have picked up along the way. Helps to recharge our groundwater resources. And it also provides, as Liz mentioned, really great habitat and pollinator opportunities for some of the wildlife that may not have access to those resources. So these are all the kind of at face value benefits of green infrastructure. So stormwater and stormwater runoff, the habitat. But what's really amazing about green infrastructure is there's also a great opportunity to educate students and residents about water quality and ecology using these installations and why they are so important. So there's really a great pathway. And so what we've done is been able to very luckily partner with Rutgers to install several of these rain gardens and green infrastructure at public schools across Paterson. And by doing that, we're able to build knowledge surrounding water quality issues and get all of the students involved in that actual installation process so that they feel that there's a sense of ownership as well as learning and garnering a lot of the skills necessary to launch a STEM or STEAM career in the future as they complete their studies. So through that program, they're able to learn the water quality issues, experience intact ecosystems. A lot of these schools were also able then to travel out to the Great Swamp, which is where the headwaters of the Passaic River begins. So it's all connected, and they learn how it's connected and how water moves across an intact landscape like the headwaters while building all those skills. And then using all of that background information, they're able to help and design and create the rain gardens that we're ultimately then installing on their school grounds, which, you know, allows them to fully appreciate all the benefit that it's bringing, not only for flooding relief and water quality, but to the wildlife that then will be served by it. So what does a rain garden installation education look like? Very quickly, it starts off with in the classroom, where we go over all the backgrounds of water quality, talk about the CSO issues. We typically start with the story of a raindrop. We want students to understand where their water comes from, where it's going, what happens to it along the way, why things like CSOs can be an issue to that resource. And we're kind of going over the whole process of installing a rain garden. So in an hour, we're teaching them how to be an engineer, why the rain garden works, how it absorbs water, how to be a scientist, what kind of ecological impacts will a rain garden have for them, how to be a gardener. They are going to be the ones choosing and selecting the plants, the native plants that they're putting in that garden. And also a little bit of politics, how to convey their choices, their findings to their peers and classmates, which all are really important skills, no matter what walk of life they choose to pursue once they complete their studies. So here's the very first kind of steps of a rain garden installation. And again, we partner with Rutgers Water Resource Program to design and construct and ultimately get the plants installed there. So it starts off with depaving. We have to remove all of that impervious ground cover that is not going to allow the water to absorb and go down into the ground, which is a very exciting day when you finally get to depave. So some of you might recognize this parking lot. This is the playground or back parking lot of PS 28. Here's another picture here during the depavement and construction process. So you can see they've cut out a giant chunk of that impervious cover, and that's going to be the foundation for where the water is going to be able to absorb in the future. Jumping back into the classroom while this is going on, again, we're having the students decide and be part of the process of installing this garden. So we teach them the science and advocacy skills that they'll need to pursue a STEM career, but applying it to this rain garden installation. So we're going to teach them how to look at the different parameters of plants, what time they bloom, how much moisture they can handle, the benefits that they bring to wildlife, whether they are pollinators or will be food source for birds or just pretty to look like, including the color of the flowers. But having them personally select those gives them some ownership of the project, and it helps them understand that through good science, their voice and their choices will be heard. So here's another picture of our 6th grade students who were deciding and communicating with each other on what plants they would like to have seen be installed into their garden. So they, using that chart, are making their choices, communicating that to each other. And this is all having had the water quality background lesson so that they are now in control of the information that they need to give to each other and which plants need to be ordered. So once they give us the list of the plants that they'd like, we can call up Rutgers, who will then bring the plants on over. So here you can see at PS7, the students actually now putting those plants into the ground, having just discussed which ones they'd like to see. They actually get to physically put those plants into the rain garden. So that's kind of a blank slate after the pavement's been removed or it's been prepped. So you can see a lot of the rocks there to help the water move and not disturb some of the mulch. So that is all the water coming off of that downspout there is going to be serviced by that rain garden. It's going to be absorbed into there, which is ultimately diverting it from the stormwater system, which should help relieve some of that CSO pressure. So before all the plants are installed there, that's what it looks like. Here they are kind of in the middle of prep, being ready to be planted all in the appropriate location. And then here's the students after a hard day's work of putting those plants in the ground. And they had a really fun time doing that. It's a great experience for those students to actually be able to get their hands dirty and do some gardening and plant and learn about the plants that they just spent all that time deciding they wanted to be installed in there. And here's the finished product. So it was a really beautiful rain garden. Moving on, here's the planting undertaking at PS 28. So the one that we saw that was being depaved earlier. So here are the volunteers and students planting there. And Liz mentioned this a little bit earlier when she touched on green infrastructure. Not only is it providing a stormwater management solution, but rain gardens provide a really vital habitat for a biodiverse array of species, especially in more developed landscapes and cities, right, where there's not a lot of contiguous open green space. Having these small pockets of green infrastructure of rain gardens is really beneficial to supporting a very biodiverse array of species, be it birds, insects, and small mammals and things that might be attracted to the garden. So here you can see some milkweed bug nymphs on a milkweed at the garden. This is one of the more popular species that everyone likes to hear about, the monarch caterpillar, which will turn into a monarch butterfly. So these are all species that are now present at these gardens that may not have been able to be there before because we provided the resources there. The pollinator plants are there for them to be able to use. Here's a praying mantis right after a rain at the rain garden, so a garden predator. And not only do we get the students involved in the installation and the construction process, but these green infrastructure projects are continuously able to be used for education purposes. So utilizing the rain garden in the years following is a pillar to some of these educational lessons that we're providing to the original students who put it in there. So we can continue lessons with the students at PS 28 2 years after we've installed this garden. So students who were not there during the original education are still benefiting from this installation, are still learning about it, and are still gaining that sense of responsibility and ownership over it. So we can use it to continue and teach the importance of that runoff management. So here students went through their garden and they collected the trash that had been intercepted from the storm drains in the garden. So this is all trash that could have made its way into a catch basin, which then some of you might have to have removed yourself. So the rain garden is helping to capture that and filter it out of that stormwater runoff, which is a huge benefit. And they also then get to volunteer and help clean up and maintain the rain garden, which is a lot of fun, removing some of the plants that aren't supposed to be there, making sure that it is still functioning as it originally intended, that there's no blockages or that the water is not running somewhere else. And by including them during this process, as well as the ongoing maintenance, you really cultivate that important sense of ownership and responsibility. The students get very excited about the garden. They want to educate others about it, their classmates, their parents. And we actually saw that happen at PS 28. Recently, there was a STEAM night and the students were really excited about the stormwater lessons and the rain garden lessons, that they actually created their own model of the water cycle and how that was important. And we were able to loan them our topographic model as well. So using both those models, they then spent the evening teaching their own community about stormwater and all the things that they had done in their rain garden to help fight that issue. So it's a really great opportunity for the students. And we do have some upcoming projects as well. So along with continuing to do this education and maintenance work at the rain gardens that we've already installed, we are very excited to begin educating students and work with Rutgers to begin installing another rain garden at PS 30 this year. So that is going to be an upcoming project. And of course, we are always looking for volunteers and interested parties who would like to help do maintenance on these gardens and to promote their continued health and use so that the students and stormwater can enjoy the benefits that they provide. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Adam, quick question or comment?
Yeah.
So that's awesome. It's great to see what they're doing at School 28. I actually live in that area and I remember riding past when it first came up and I'm like, why is there just, you know, a garden in the middle? Right. But it's glad to know that it's just more than a garden that they're actually learning. But what about bringing it to like either nonprofits in the community or like to the parks? I know that the mayor, he's really big on the parks now and they're doing a lot of work on the parks. And with schools being closed and now, you know, if the children even have access to go to the school property and how long, who knows what's going to happen with that. But I feel like maybe bringing it also to the parks or, you know, partner up with individuals in the community and just doing that, you know, that in the parks also along with the schools. That'd be amazing. So I'll be happy to, come on board with that. I'm in the first ward area, so I'm right at, near School 28 and School 4.
Fantastic.
So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And that's an opportunity that we'd love to be a part of. So we can definitely talk more about that, touch base maybe offline.
Awesome.
Any other questions from anyone?
There's a question from Denise, and I'm not sure, maybe Liz could answer this or Adam, but she says, or Denise, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, sorry about that. I probably should have like tagged that on the end of the segment, but it took me a little while to kind of think it through. So Adam, the rain gardens look great. That's fantastic. I guess I'm just trying to understand, because there was a lot of information that Liz put up. What really, in sort of layman terms, because this, I'm a little bit new to some of this, but I just kind of want to understand what I'm seeing. In layman's terms, what would really be, what's the volume difference between putting these, I guess, great infrastructure programs in place versus them not being in place, versus where we are historically right now, right? And then, because it seems very critical that you need both. You can't really, none of them is an absolute fix, right? So clearly, the best scenario is to get both involved, green infrastructure, gray infrastructure, right? So what would be the enhanced? What's the argument for using, GI, right, green infrastructure, to enhance this? What's your approach to that argument? Is that clear?
Yeah, that's a great question, and like kind of a linchpin question when looking at comparing like green infrastructure and gray infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So historically, there is like large volumes of stormwater, combined stormwater runoff that comes out of I think total there used to be like 29 CSO points, but they shut down some of them. And so anyway, so like millions of gallons per year get discharged in total. But they look at it, so they have to manage for average storms. And so an average storm, like an average storm, or average bad storm, is like maybe 2 or 3 inches over 24 hours. It's actually a lot of volume when it runs off of all the pavement and roofs where it can't infiltrate. So the gray infrastructure, like by volume, will handle much more than green infrastructure. And there does need to be gray infrastructure involved in the CSO reduction plans. Green infrastructure is really useful still, though, because it can be implemented to still manage the first 1.25 inches of rain, which is what New Jersey calls the water quality storm. And that comes in so a water quality storm is 1.25 inches over, I think, 2 hours. So it's a fast, like, flash storm. And the way we design our green infrastructure is that for a certain area, you can manage that storm by putting it into, a rain garden or a tree pit or something like that, where it will then slowly infiltrate. And, but when you have like larger storms, that's when you have lots of runoff. So green infrastructure won't really manage that, but it will still help to manage smaller, more common storms. And that's sort of like, I think, for the way that climate change is projected to impact this area, there's going to be like more frequent, intense rainstorms that are in the, say, 2 to 3 inch range. And so green infrastructure can help with that. It's a really complicated question. I don't really know if I know how to answer this, but like if they first, all the towns had to do a system characterization report. So that's like the historically what has been discharged by the communities. And then that's how they're addressing that. And they use the year 2004 as the model rainfall year because of trends, historical trends. So they modeled, they have their complicated stormwater models with all the sewers accounting for like the volume that they can hold. And so I'm not sure exactly how to answer this, but I'm trying to give you like a sort of an easier or like a more explanatory reason of why there's a long-term control plan. I don't know if Mo, if you want to take it or.
I think you did.
If I can say something,
Yes.
if you don't mind, Mo.
No, I was gonna have you speak anyways next, yes.
Oh, you were, okay. I just want to say that I think that for some of the people that's on the Zoom tonight, this has been a project that, and I think I can say that mayors have been kicking down the road for the last 20 years. And the government now is saying to these cities, and the three really major cities, Jersey City, Newark, and Paterson, all have combined sewer in their towns, meaning that the rainwater goes in the same place as your toilet water, your sink water. So the government wants to say, well, we need to kind of like separate it somewhat, that if you get really a bad rainstorm, I mean, besides the rainwater plus your house water, I mean, your house sewage is coming all into one. You'll be surprised how much is going down there now to Passaic Valley Sewer. So we have to really try to come up with some ways of saving, I would say, some of our rainwater. And I go to South Carolina. My cousin's got the barrels by the house with rainwater runoff. You know, they use it for the gardens, they use it for different things. And so bringing the children in involved of schools, that kind of help us to recycle or save some of our water. So people always say now, like, well, why is it the government is making us do this? But they've been saying this for the last 20 years. You have to do something. You have to do something. They say, and I will say to council members, I think our first deadline was October 1st, that you had to come up with a plan. So you say to council members, you got to come up with a plan. So we had to hire an engineer to come up with a plan to see how we're gonna do without CSO combined. How are we gonna fix it? How are we gonna? The price tag, as you can see, is way up there. And if you look at the dates, they're going all the way to 2060. Half of us, I mean, I hope some of you guys are still around, but 2060 is 40 years from now, that the government is saying, okay, we're gonna give you some time, like, but you gotta be fair with us too. People want to say the DEP or the EPA, they will work with you, but you have to show us a city too that you're willing to work with them too. Because I remember sitting here with a couple council people saying, oh, we're not spending that money. And I would say to them, yes, you are going to spend it. Because if you don't spend it, no, if you don't come up with a plan, it's not about spending. Come up with a plan. The government is not playing when they're going to fine you per day. That's all I can say. And I always say that. And so you come up with these ideas like adopt a catch basin. You know, to me, I see what had happened, and I'm going to get off soon, but we had a really bad storm maybe 3 or 4 years ago where my block where I live never flooded, never. The water, I'm in the middle of the block. The water came all the way up to my house. And when I saw this guy dive underneath the water, how messy it was to try to clean the basin so that the water can go down. He literally went down there to try to get that stuff out the gutters so the water can start flowing. And if you started noticing it, when you keep your gutters clean, the water flows, it really flows smoothly down. And every now and then, you know, you got to call your city to do the sewer, you know, drain the sewer out or flush it out or whatever you want to call it. But people, I just want to say to the people that's on, this has been going on for the last 20 years. the can has come to a stop now. Nobody no longer can kick it down the road anymore. It has the can is stopping, and it say the government is saying, no, we got to do something, and they got to get done now. I just thought I needed to share that more, because I've been going to different meetings about CSO, and I understand it from working at a sewer plant, what comes in there. It's unbelievable. And a lot of stuff comes in there that's from the streets and not from household things. So I just needed to share that with all my people that's listening today to this. And I have a rain garden at Martin Luther King Park too. And I gotta say, I have my Paterson Finest, the Paterson Bronze Heat maintains that park for me. MLK Parks, Governor and Auburn Street. Thank you, Mo.
Yeah, I mean, did you want to, did you want to say something about the Adopting Catch Basin program in Paterson and the launch we had was a year ago?
Yeah, it was really, I think the city of Newark started it. That's where that's where I originally first saw it. But you know what, people would say that it's not our role to clean up catch basins, but yes, it is. If you want something to flow smoothly, and I remember being out there, and my neighbors see me out there, and then all of a sudden now they're catching on. But you'll be, especially if you live around areas where it's flooding, you're gonna see a big difference once you keep those catch basins clean. You'll feel, and I think that I think we got about 80 more 40 more just signed on. So with the help of the green team and with Martha and Miss Francis are pushing it, and all the members here that came out to the second time around. So to adopt a catch basin is really, to me, it's a way of keeping the flow going evenly, because at a moment you can get a rainstorm that will just like flood the whole area. But I believe that the less flooding would be if the catch basins are cleaner. And so it'll be less flooding. So I'm going to always push the adopt a catch basin with my green team. I'm going to always do that. So with them. Thank you.
Awesome. And Nancy Greer, are you on too? You were going to say a few words about adopting a catch basin?
I keep telling you, it's Nancy's birthday. She's celebrating.
That's fine. Martha and Miss Harrison, did you want to chime in?
Okay, so yeah, the whole key to adopting a catch basin is basically to keep all the litter and debris from entering our storm drains, which is our water infrastructure. It helps slow down the flooding, and it really beautifies Paterson at the same time, because we're keeping it clean. And just all that debris. I mean, I live in an area that I'm nowhere near the river, and I flood very badly. And by keeping my catch basin clean, it definitely helps to slow down the flooding, for sure.
The amount of debris that's thrown into the streets in this city is unbelievable. And I think the catch basin, when they see people out there doing and cleaning up, maybe it will trigger something and help us try to keep the city clean. We've been asking for signage probably since the beginning of the green team from this mayor. And I see now that he's finally put up a few littering signs. I have no idea where they're posted at, but this city is way, way, way too nasty, too dirty. And by the catch basin participants out there with their green vests on and cleaning up, it'll make people say, oh, what's going on over there? And maybe it'll take into consideration to put the trash where it belongs and not in the street.
So one of the things that the green team's been doing with Liz from Rutgers and with the city as well is mapping where all the catch basins are in the city of Paterson. So Liz is going to share the map that she's put together with the green team and the city.
Yeah, okay. I'll try sharing my screen successfully here. Oh, it's pretty easy actually. Okay. Nope, it's not that easy. Are you guys seeing the window or do you see my whole desktop?
No, just the window.
Okay. So yeah, so this this map is points that are the addresses that were given to us when people signed up. So I've been working on trying to find out some data of like where the existing drains are, still working on it. But these are where people have identified that they are taking care of catch basins. And let me see if I can just put the link to this in a chat because it is just a Google map. And so anyone can look at it. And so yeah, so it just has the wards and the points. And if you click on the point, so yeah, so it has the name and then some other, you know, stuff that comes in with point data. So it's like X and Y coordinates, but there are like more options with this. So we could potentially add pictures of before and after. Google Maps has really no problem doing that. I'm also working, Della connected me with the city's like data specialist, Harsha. And so I'm working with him to figure out how we're gonna have Paterson actually like sort of take over this mapping so that, just so that it can be displayed on a Paterson website and more people can see it. So if you zoom out, you can kind of see like where there are hotspots and where maybe there could be more people that would sign up. So like up here, I think this is the first ward. Well, Ward 3, sorry. So like in the north side of Ward 3, maybe we could use some more people. You know, really we could use more people everywhere, but
Right.
but yeah, I think that this is also really helpful because you can see that like there are people participating in this and you know, you're not alone if you're a catch basin adoptee. And I recently sent out an email asking people to okay if I was allowed to put their names up here or if they wanted me to use the catch basin nickname. So if you're an adoptee and you didn't get that email, feel free to put that in the chat or reply to the email however you want.
Oh, love you. Be home safe.
So yeah, so then I also just wanted to show one other map.
Yeah, check up here.
So Newark does a mapping too, where it's Google and they post their pictures. And there's another community in New Jersey, Westfield, that has like they worked with an outside design team to come up with this website. But you know, it's something that potentially Paterson could move towards where
Okay.
it tells you, you know, how many pounds, because people are able to log in and report it. And also, I just thought it was, you know, interesting and nice to hear that like a suburban community like Westfield is also doing this because this
Okay.
is kind of an issue all over the place. Everywhere has issues with
Okay.
litter and things like that. So there's it's a growing movement in New Jersey, at least. So yeah.
Could I say something? Is it okay if I say something? Okay, this is Miss Winnie. I have adopted 2 catch basins in my area, and I was talking to the management team for the complex. So she's going to see if anybody in our area would like to take 1 or 2 or whatever. And as I was talking to my neighbors, I did send Miss Martha and Miss Francis the pictures of how much, I'm not going to say it was basically debris, but there was a lot of dirt where we thought it was cement. And it had accumulated. I mean, we're talking about maybe like 3 inches, 4 inches of dirt, and it looked like cement. So a lot of my neighbors was asking me what was I doing, and I explained to them. So hopefully maybe we could get somebody up here. I talked to the management team, and maybe Martha and Miss Harris or whoever could come up and explain it to the residents. And then this way, maybe they could adopt a catch basin as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's also another like could be a really interesting use of the map is that people can report where conditions are really bad. But yeah, definitely we would get we would love to have more people sign up. I think that's Yeah.
Yeah. And I also wanted to know, being that the bags that I have, they rip. So what I'm doing is taking the dirt and putting it in potholes. So I'm using it for something. I'm not throwing it down the drain.
That's
But
some pretty hard work you're doing out there. That's really
yeah,
awesome.
cause I know she said get in touch with DPW, but being that it's private property, DPW they have to get permission to come on the property. So that then you have to do a lot of paperwork. But I wanted to know, could I get more bags or whatever where I could take the dirt and continue to do what I was doing, is filling up the potholes as well. Is there any more bags that I could get?
Mo or Martha, or
Well, those kits, all the stuff that was ordered for those 40 kits were put into the 40 kits. We basically, when we do the Adopt a Catch Basin program, we have enough material for each 40 kit. Like there's no extra grabbers, there's no extra vests. What I could do is, go out into the store myself and buy some bags, maybe something heavier.
Okay, let's get to Sal to talk to Andre or Della, excuse me, the mayor or Della, and see maybe could they get us some bags. I don't think we should come out of our pockets doing this.
It's not, I mean, all you have to do is let us know and we can get clean communities plays a big part in that. But normally it's when you do a cleanup. So that would be considered a cleanup. So if you just send us how many bags you think you need, you could just email me and we could take it from there.
Okay, well, I sent like I said, I sent the pictures to Martha and Miss Harrison. So you could kind of, I don't know. I don't know the measurement or the how many bags.
I mean, you can guesstimate. If you think you need 20 bags, then we could reach out to clean communities and see what do they have available. Unfortunately, I know with DPW, you're right. They won't come on private property to clean anything because it's kind of unlawful to do that. However, if you need bags and it's considered a cleanup, we can probably get you bags, but don't quote me on that. I will check with Juan tomorrow morning and see.
Della, before
What y'all talking about?
Brown bags? You can give me a call after this meeting, Wendy.
Right.
And we'll work on what.
And Della, before you go to work, could you give me a call and then I'll let you see what's going on? Okay.
All right. Wendy, give me a call after this meeting.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds like like erosion, right? It sounds like we have this in other places too, like the water is causing the soil to.
Right, yeah. That's some, do you, have you noticed like where all the dirt might be coming from? Miss Harrison?
I'm so sorry. I just got a message. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Which is Miss Harrison? Martha or Winnie?
Winnie, yeah.
Yes, what was the question?
Have you noticed at all where that dirt might be coming from? Like where it's maybe washing away?
Because even as I was shoveling up, and that's another thing, I'm using my own shovel. So if my shovel breaks, I'm gonna call y'all. But as I was shoveling
you
up,
borrow mine
I noticed basically it was getting root. Like I guess because of being that it wasn't taken care of in such a long length of time, it's roots, like tree roots was coming. So it's basically underneath like a plant or a tree, And I also have a bag of leaves and stuff. So that's no problem. It's just the dirt. But like I said, Miss Della could come, or I'll talk to Miss Francis as well. But it's kind of big.
Yeah, it sounds like a big job, honestly.
Well, that one sounds, Winnie, that one sounds, when I was looking at the picture, I thought you sent me a picture of a concrete, and I'm like, where's the catch basin? Because I couldn't see it.
No, I can't even get to the catch basin because there's so much dirt.
Right. So that's something that they have to go there with a special suction machine to, you
A
know,
vacuum truck.
with the special truck that that Ruby Cotton, Councilwoman Ruby Cotton was saying, that the machine that comes in actually, it's like a kind of like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah,
that
like
sucks
a vac,
up-
yeah, it's called a vac truck.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so you know, I could stop doing what I'm doing and wait till they come, or if you want me to continue doing it, you know, it's just exercise for me until I get tired. Then I stop.
Yeah, because when I saw the picture, I thought it was a picture of a parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we are running late. It's 7:46 and we were going to be done at 7:30. So I do want to just thank everyone. I wanted just to see if there was any last questions before we got off the Zoom.
I have something to say.
Sure.
If you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, my name is Mahmoud Trauna. I'm the vice president with the ESNA group with Miss Francis. Number one, I would like to thank you all for doing whatever you're doing, for caring about, number one, environment, Paterson, everybody, health. Number three, I'm very well informed and aware of those GIs, IPs, because I'm an engineer. I work for New York City and we build those. So I help day to day seeing those things getting built, and I know every single angle in and out, what defects might happen, the functions, if it functions or not, if it serves the purpose or not, if it makes sense, all those studies about them. I cleaned myself 3 catch basins around my house. I opened the grill out and I jumped inside. I cleaned the whole thing. But I noticed a lot of these catch basins are not built as same as the ones in New York City. Meanings like a lot of the ones in New York City comes as a precast, which is meaning like it's a concrete top to bottom. Sometimes they had to add like a couple of layers of bricks to extend the height and stuff. But the one here in Paterson, I noticed they're all bricks, and the bricks itself, it's not even barged. So I noticed of whatever Ms. Francis was saying about like some of the catch basins may be damaged or something. I guess it needs a lot of maintenance, a lot of attention. Somebody has to be like doing sort of like a walkthrough and trying to address all the issues with those catch basins. Maybe in separate spreadsheet, we can put them all up and have like some grants, maybe somehow, somewhere the city can help out, or volunteers, or somebody can be like hired to fix those catch basins, because at the end, the benefit is for everyone. That's all I have to say. And thank you all for everything you're doing.
Thank you. So that's a great idea. We will continue to discuss. We're going to continue to meet. And this was just the first, we wanted to bring everybody together who's adopted a catch basin to kind of continue the conversation about CSOs and stormwater and have folks a chance to ask questions. But this isn't the, you know, we'll continue to do this, I think, you know, using Zoom as long as we have to. And then potentially, maybe even in the spring, we can, you know, have some kind of outdoor
Go
event.
back to barbecues. Started with a barbecue.
Yep. So hopefully we can all get together in person at some point, but I'm sure that we'll probably have another Zoom call. And I think that's a great idea about the catch basins, Mohammed. So if you could email that idea, I think that would be helpful to, I don't know if you have Martha or Francis.
I could, if any way of shareable form, I could be of a help, either verbally, like even I could anytime have an extra hours here and there, or Saturdays, Sundays, I could, like, if you guys want to do anything, I would be happy to help out anyhow, or any way I can. Yeah, there's so many ideas, there's so many things. If we put in a comparison between what happens like in the big city and here, and what the things, how we get it done, and like if there's a path we can follow and get grants. I mean, we can some grants can buy like say a vac truck that could go around and clean like let's say 50 or 60 of those catch basins a day, because like it's those catch basins are like, I wouldn't even call them a catch basin, that's a drainage, you know, because catch basin technically it's almost 10 feet deep, 4 and 4 feet wide, and this is technically a catch basin, but this one is just an inlet, you could call it maybe, or just a drainage window to the sewer. But it's not technically a catch basin. Catch basin which catch stuff. This thing doesn't catch nothing, right? The whole purpose or the definition of catch basin, those things around here in the east side, at least the one I have seen physically and I opened and looked at them, those are not a catch basins because they don't physically catch anything. You know what I'm saying? Whatever goes down there, it just goes through the pipes if it's small enough to go through the pipes. So there's so many things, and I guess the time right now doesn't help us with express all these ideas. But I'm very open and for any assistance that I could do. I just emailed Liz like before the meeting with some pictures with the work I did, and Miss Francis has my information. And yes, please let me know if anything of a help I could do. I would be happy to do it.
Thank you so much. I do want to let people go since we're running out late, but any other last words before we go, Francis or Martha? Do you want to say anything before we close?
No, just thank you to everybody that joined. And I hope that they were educated and we gave them a lot of information.
I just want to say thank you for everybody who came online, but also if you go on the Passaic Valley Water System website, a lot of this stuff you can start educating yourself about it so we can learn, so we don't have to think that we're not knowledgeable. You'll find out you know a lot more than you think you know. And Mo, you're going to send out the info that you have so that when we meet again, you know, we're really getting into it, because Paterson, a 228-year-old city, needs lots of help. And like Ruby was saying, we were forced to do this. And that's what we're finding out about Paterson. A lot of stuff have fallen through the cracks. And now it has come to the point that you are forced to do a lot of things in the city, that if it was an upkeep and it was being done before, we wouldn't be in the predicament that we're in. So I'm just asking all of you who are online now, please, please, please stay involved.
Thank you. And we also, yes, Councilwoman.
No, I just want to let Ms. Harris know it's not Passaic Valley Water, it's Passaic Valley Sewer. That you want to go on their website. And also, I know that we're not the only city either that has not done what they're supposed to do, because you know what, it was always a price tag on it, and nobody wanted to put that price tag with it. But the government says, okay, we're gonna be eventually got to get to. We're still never gonna get to that price tag because we don't have $500 million. And so we have our guy here. He's gonna be looking for grants, and I know the federal government's going to give out some money, the state's going to give out some money, but it still won't be what we really need. It'll help somewhat. That's why it's going all the way 40 years from now. So, yeah. But I just want to make sure that it's Passaic Valley Sewer and not Passaic Valley Water for that. So
thank you, Ruby. That's what I meant, Passaic Valley Sewer Commission.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And, you know, you just never thought about it before. That's all. I think we probably, you know what, if I could just say one thing, Mo, before I leave. My husband used to tease me because I worked at Passaic Valley Sewer all the time. You know, I was a shift worker. Out of 250 men, I was only 4 females, and I was one of the 4 females there that work in operation, meaning we process what came down there. And you'd be surprised. People never really think about what happens when they flush their toilet. They never think about what happens when they wash their dishes. They never think. But the federal government tells you that you have to clean this out. You have to have it so clean that you can literally drink it as drinking water. Because see, once you clean it out, it goes all the way out into the Hudson, 40 miles out. So it has to be clean. And people really never think of what happens once it leaves their house. They don't have no idea what happens to it, but it's a process that, and believe me, the government is constantly on them too, making sure they get to where they need to have it. Because if they find out that when they send there, they test it and it's not like it should be, You know, that sewer plant is fine, big time, for the federal government. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. We'll be in touch. We'll send out the PowerPoint presentations to everybody, and hopefully we'll do this again soon so we can check in again and spread the word about adopting a catch basin.
Sure. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you for this meeting. Thank you for the invite.
Bye.